All right, family, listen, we're almost 30 interviews in. And you know what? Let's talk about it because, it's all over social media and these relationship interviews and, everything talking about fatherhood. And the one thing that I want to say is that when we're talking about fatherhood, what it means to be someone who steps into a role, let's talk about a stepfather. Let's talk about a man who takes it upon himself to step into a role that wasn't initially for him, right? It might have been for another man who was out there who should have been doing their job. Let's just be clear. A man who was out there who should have been doing their job. But a man decides to marry a woman who's already had kids. What does that mean? Right? This man made a conscious decision to jump in a relationship and take care of another man's child. Let's just be real, right? But let's think about it. One, why would a man do that? He has nothing to gain, but everything to lose. Or does he have something to gain? Because fatherhood is a God given, there's adoption all through the Bible. And when I look at what stepfathers do, what they bring, it's another level of taking on a responsibility. And look, I know I'm going to get eaten up. People talking about, you shouldn't do it, stepfathers and, all of that is for suckers. But let me tell you something. That little boy didn't say it was for suckers. That little girl who didn't have a father didn't say it was for suckers. A lot of times it's selfishness. And I'm not saying you should jump in relationships just all willy-nilly, because there's a lot of relationships that people need to work on themselves, women and men. They need to work on themselves before they ever get in a relationship. But that takes nothing away from a child needing a father. If more men stepped up being a father and women didn't get in put themselves in a position to not have their child to have a father, we'd be in a better position. But we're talking about people who are in those positions, in those states, in those particular, living situations. Fathers are needed. Just look around. Look around the world. Fathers are needed. And so the only thing I have to say is that anytime we look at it, these conversations are nuanced. They're very, very nuanced. And I want everybody to just take a step back, a huge step back, and really look at what it means to be a father, a stepfather, a bonus dad, all of that kind of stuff. Because we need to recognize that men are needed, so much so that we have to make a correction, because obviously there's a lot of things going on that God didn't design. He didn't put us in a position to, not have fathers in the home, not have nuclear families. He didn't put us in that position. We put ourselves in that position. So how do we get ourselves out? We got to start with the family. So if family's not being made, we got to figure out, in the state that we're in, how do we correct those situations? Listen, these last few interviews have really lit a fire up under me, really making me think and really making me look at what it means to have fathers in this society. And listen, we're almost at interview 30, and I don't know where these rest of these interviews are going to take us, but listen, I want y'all to continue to stay locked in, continue to see what we've got going on. And if any of you fathers out there want to speak, you want to talk, you got a perspective on something I just said, listen, hit me up in the comments, hit me up on my Instagram, YouTube, email, anywhere you find me. Let's talk. All right. Peace.